This is a video about using mpb.com, and it is a story of both good news and bad news. And it all starts right now. Let's go. And we are in the field. This is the 12-24 G Master 2.8, probably the most expensive lens I've ever bought, next to probably the Canon 7200 when it was first released, the version 2, but that was a long time ago in Australia, and Australian dollars are worth nothing. So it seems like everything's more expensive in Australia, kind of like Canada. This is our first location in a parking garage in the center of the city. It's about an hour before sunset. Awesome, awesome location for some architecture photography. Check that out. That's our dartboard parking garage. There's two similar scenes in the city, and I've never been to this one, but I shot the other one a couple times, and I got a really unique angle with the GoPro here. The A7R5, trying to capture this scene. First shot, well, not technically the first shot, but first like set up proper shot that I've taken with this new lens, and it looks very, very cool. But let's talk a little bit more right now about mpb.com. All right, we're at our second location. I'm back on the floor, and it is a good opportunity to talk a little bit about the pros and cons, or the specific pros of utilizing mpb.com, which is where I bought this lens. But one of the main things is price, obviously. So you get a immediate quote from MPB on what you're buying and what you're selling, which is interesting. But when you're buying, for example, this lens is not cheap. One of the most expensive Sony lenses. This is the G Master f2.8, and I got it for 2,150 something euros, which is very expensive, but it's 625 euros cheaper than buying the thing brand new, and that is about 22.5% cheaper, which is a huge discount considering, you know, the fact that it looks brand new, and they say it's like new, and from what I can tell, it absolutely is. And the quality of the images right now are insane, like tack sharp, matches perfectly with the A7R5. So a big pro for mpb.com is that, from what I've seen, the majority of stuff that you can buy online is going to be, you know, between 10 and 20% at least cheaper than what you can buy it brand new. And that goes for the like new stuff. I don't know about the excellent or good or well used, but yeah, this one, like new, yeah, it's a good price. 625 bucks off, more than 20% off. That's very, very good. All right, let's talk about a couple more of the pros of using mpb.com. One of the big ones for me is free shipping, and the shipping, at least here in Germany, is with DHL, and it's insured. So that's absolutely huge. I trust DHL, use them all the time, and they are really, really quick and responsive here, and the tracking numbers are really quite good. And you can ask them to drop off your kit at like specific pickup locations if you're not going to be home when they want to drop off the product. But the main pro that I'm getting at is that the shipping is free. That's huge. It's insured shipping, which is also huge. And here in Germany, if you don't like the product, you can send it back, and there is a 14-day 100% money back guarantee, and you can send it back for free as well, which is absolutely incredible. And I think that they even have a 6-month warranty on all of the gear that's sold. So that, from a customer point of view, is just incredible. And the service of DHL, as I mentioned, is just really, really good here in Germany. So that is a huge pro of using mpb.com. the selection is insane. It is unbelievable how much stuff you can get on this website. Like, we're talking anything that you could think of camera-wise. Go and check it out for yourself. It's unbelievable. We've got vintage cameras, vintage lenses, cinema lenses, any kind of DSLR you can think of, all the lenses to match, all of the accessories. You've got stabilizers, tripods, gimbals, you've got drones. It's just unbelievable the amount of selection that is available right now, at least in the German store. So that's very, very cool to see. On top of that, the customer service is really quite good. I had to call the Berlin office twice to ask them a couple questions about what I'm going to talk about next. And the guys that answered their phone were really knowledgeable, had great English, were able to answer my questions. You know, they were customer service representatives, so they couldn't really do anything in regard to changing the quote and the price of what I was asking about in the first place. But still, the fact that they answered the phone in this day and age was pretty nice to see. And even called me back once too when the lens was actually shipped, just to make sure that I am me. But still, the customer service, very, very good. And the selection is just insane. All right, it's the next day and I wanted to touch on this little piece of equipment and the bad news side of this story. So there's actually two things that I want to cover in this section. The first thing is the 1.4 times teleconverter from Sony. This is what I was trying to trade in or sell to MPB to get the discount on the 12 to 24. And they say that if you trade in something along with purchasing, then you get free shipping. So I mentioned earlier in this video that you get free shipping all the time. That's not the case. I'm confused as I'm making this video because that is sort of the case with MPB.com. There seems to be a lot of questions and there's a lot of answers on their website as well, but there's still kind of almost too much information. It's like, you need to trust the service, and when you're using it for the first time like I have, it has been kind of difficult because, you know, this piece of kit is selling on the Euro store, the Germany website, for 479 euros, and I was quoted as like new at 250 to purchase it, which is like, I don't know, 45% markup. You know, they're buying it for 250, selling it for 479, and it's the exact same condition. So I thought to myself, well, you know, one of these answers to the questions is that when you trade in your equipment, when your equipment actually arrives at the office of MPB, whether it be in the UK, the US, or here in Europe, they will review it, like the professionals that work on site, and they will determine whether they think the condition is worse or better than what you stated it as. Now, I stated this as like new, which is the best it can be, but I still thought that they would have upped up the quote from 250 to like 300, or I was really hoping for 350, and they just didn't. There was no change in the quote, and I was thinking, man, you want to buy this for 250 but then sell it for 479? Like, that's good business. And I get that that's MPB's business, but you know, it's one of those like pros and cons thing where I want to buy the 12 to 24 at 22% off because that's a good deal for me. And I want to sell this, but I'm not willing to sell it for like 50% of the value that the same company is then turning around and selling it for. You know, I'm 30 maybe, you know, if they offered 350 and then sold it for 479, I wouldn't be that upset about that. But yeah, that's why I was like, well, no, I'm not going to sell it to you for 250 because I can get more for this piece of equipment somewhere else. So they ended up sending it back free of charge, which is a huge plus. And that is kind of the bad news story of this story, if that makes sense. And the fact that it's just kind of confusing. So all the positives of using MPB.com are kind of weighed down a little bit by the negatives of how confusing it can be, and then how little I was offered for this piece of kit when they're selling it on the same site for almost 50% more. All right, right, we're back inside and I'm currently editing this video that you are watching right now, and it is the perfect opportunity to recap my sort of overall thoughts on using MPB for the first time. So first things first is the lens. The 12-24 G Master from Sony is a very, very expensive and unique lens, and it took me a while to make the final decision to actually purchase it, but I'm glad that I did through mpb.com because the quality is like new. It's absolutely fantastic for 625 euros off. It is a good deal in my opinion, and I'm very happy with the build quality, and it is exactly as was stated on their website. So that's very good news. Now, it's also going to be very, very useful in my work, as you'll see in upcoming videos. I want to do a little bit more around Hamburg. I hope you've liked those photos, by the way, from our first test shoot in this video. I think they turned out really, really cool. So I'm excited to take this into different locations around the city that I know I cannot get a wide enough perspective with the 16 mil. So this 12 is going to be very, very useful. Now, the next time it's going to be really useful is with the upcoming workshop in Georgia, which is sold out, and that's going to be starting on September 8th, which is very soon from now. So you've got lots to look forward to seeing that being used in the country of Georgia to get some really unique aspects on abandoned architecture. So that's going to be very, very useful there. Now, also, I think in general, my experience with MPB has been very positive. Everything that I stated in this video with, you know, the discount, the shipping and the tracking and the insurance, the 14-day guaranteed money back, the 6-month warranty, you know, the question and answers, as much as they are confusing, which is a negative, there is still a lot of information there which you can go through, which I think kind of is a positive that it's at least there. And then of course, being able to contact the office here in Germany, in Berlin, you know, getting on the phone and talking to somebody is really, really helpful. So that was all good news. Now, the bad news with the Sony 1.4 teleconverter here is that, yeah, I just wasn't willing to sell it for the price that I was quoted, which was $275. I mentioned just earlier there's $250, but I was mistaken. It was $275 that they offered me for this, but then for them to be selling it for $479 in the same condition wasn't a good enough deal for me. So I'm gonna keep it for the time being. You know, this has got a really cool story. Actually, I bought it from Nick Page, who's an American photographer, and he was using this to photograph American football, and said he only used it a few times. And when he switched to Canon, I was switching to Sony kind of at the same time, and I asked him if I could buy it. He sent it to me here in Germany, and I only used it in Antarctica. And now that I've got the A7R5 with the 100-400, I don't really need the extender anymore. And I found that it was a little soft, not that often, but often enough that I couldn't really trust it for like multiple shots. So I've still got it. I'm gonna keep it. It might be handy in like safari situations, or again with like crazy distance wildlife. But other than that, you know, I don't really use it. So that's another story in regard to the teleconverter. I never ended up making the sale with MPB, but they still offered me free shipping and sent the piece of kit that I didn't sell back with the 12-24, which was really nice. So overall, very positive experience. I'll probably use MPB again in the future, and I really believe that this actually is the future of, pardon me, come on back, of the secondhand camera gear marketplace. I think that this is a really good example of where things are going in our service-based kind of economy, where you're gonna have the option to do this all online, you know, and you don't really need a physical store at all. And once you build that trust with the consumer base, it's just gonna grow and grow and grow. And I think that's the track that MPB is heading on for sure, especially, you know, given their growth in the UK, the US, and here in the EU. So yeah, overall, good experience, and I'm not sure what I'm gonna buy next, but definitely going to use this a lot more over the next couple of videos, and you got lots to look forward to there. So as always, thanks for watching. Hope you liked it, and I'll see you in the next video.